Guys, this has been a valuable reminder that you should always you should always check the schedule before you come to a con, because I could have come here and brought so much merch to trade with people.
The performers for VRChat out on stage. Give everybody a bow. A round of applause. Come on, y'all, let's give it up for VRChat.
Okay, so although furry conventions may be extremely fun to go to, where you can see all those amazing fursuits in person, sometimes it's just not realistic for everybody to attend one, let alone multiple a year. But luckily, there's an alternative space for the non-trillionaires of the fandom. Just like a regular convention, people in the fandom can meet others and explore new spaces without leaving the comfort of their homes. Of course, it's not exactly the same, but thanks to virtual reality and other new-ish technology, furries can now join digital worlds to interact with others instead of flying halfway across the globe. And that's what I figured would be an interesting topic for today. To start things off, I should probably talk about the two big factors as to why people don't always go to conventions in real life. First, accessibility, and second, cost. Physical, in-person conventions are amazing, but they are also a huge commitment. A typical attendee can easily spend $500 or more on travel, hotels, and food on top of any registration costs the convention already charges. However, using virtual spaces for conventions completely changes everything. Platforms such as VRChat are free, and events such as Virality charge as little as $10 for admittance. If you compare that with conventions in the real world, the barrier for entry essentially vanishes. If you take Virality Somna as an example of this barrier being destroyed, held in 2025, it had 26,405 attendees, which is even more than the biggest in-person furry convention, Furry Weekend Atlanta, at 17,736 attendees this year, an absolutely enormous number of people. Also, beyond the factors of cost, these virtual spaces allow for more creativity to take place. Since around 85% of furries don't own a fursuit, a virtual equivalent of an avatar can be made instead for far less money, or even free if you know how to use software like Blender. There is also the same benefit that comes with fursuiting, as people can express themselves more clearly and experiment with their identities. It has even become socially understood that these avatars can be completely different from what people look like in real life, so there isn't any boundaries on what people can do in terms of gender or whatever else they want to do to their avatars. Often, this allows people in the furry fandom to make friendships with people who they would otherwise not have, and for artists to share their passions with each other in different ways, or simply for them to open another type of commission to hopefully stabilize their freelance occupations. Anyway, going further into the social side, unlike those weekend conventions, virtual spaces never close, unless there is an outage, of course. For example, websites such as Furaffinity have millions of registered users, and on Reddit, r/furry has around 400,000 users that are in the community. These spaces allow for people in the furry fandom to communicate far more openly and share projects to smaller communities within the furry fandom who may, for example, like an artist's style so much they form a fan base. And as people have more common interests in the furry fandom, or these smaller groups, deeper bonds are able to form over time, which strengthens the community as a whole, also leading to higher levels of trust, which helps freelancer artists conduct their businesses easier. Another reason why people in the furry fandom enjoy virtual spaces is because there aren't any any set rules as to what can happen in those spaces or where meetings can be held. It could be held in an office somewhere on top of the tallest building in the world, or it could be on a floating Japanese-themed island. Not only does that mean that people's experiences can be extraordinarily unique and memorable, it also allows for activities to be done that people could only imagine doing in their wildest dreams, such as table tennis on the moon. And again, usually to do something like that in the real world, it would either be impossible or extremely costly. So the fact that creativity is the limit in these virtual spaces contributes greatly to why people in the furry fandom enjoy them so much. So, overall, I personally think that although in-person furry conventions are irreplaceable, almost magical feeling events to some people, these virtual spaces and events that are growing ever popular, continuing to offer more and more unforgettable experiences, are really giving physical conventions a metaphorical run for their money. I truly do believe that some of the events, such as meets in VRChat, which I talked about in this video, are fairly new ways to connect with others that definitely aren't going anywhere anytime soon, but could replace major furry conventions if we're not careful enough and end up in a world from something like Ready Player One. Anyways, I would love to know what you think about all of this. Feel free to debate in the comment section below, or join my Discord server at dsc.gg/skykes. And with that, I hope you all have a fantastic day.